So what's up, man? Scott Sheik here. Coffee with Sheik. How you doing
Chic
today?
for my Arab prince or something.
Yeah, that's what I thought it sounded. I thought it had a nice little twist.
How do you pronounce your last name?
Vanderbo. Vanderbo.
Someone I was talking to someone
Yeah.
the other day and they pronounced it Van de Bee.
Yeah, and why?
People do that?
Yeah, all the time. And
Is
you
that
know
a
what?
thing?
The biggest thing actually is a mysterious R appears in my name. They
Where?
so
Vanderbo,
Vander
Vanderburg?
Vander Vanderbo. I'm
No,
like,
you know what? That makes
interesting.
sense.
Wrote my name a couple times today. Actually, I didn't see an
Yeah,
R there. Where did you go get that from?
Vanderpump.
Yeah, I'm totally clueless, man.
That's
So
funny.
what's up, man? Tell
Just
me how
surviving, surviving
surviving,
and thriving.
surviving and thriving. So yeah,
Yeah.
I was thinking about it when we talked yesterday. You haven't really talked to me too much about what you do right now, other than like because obviously we have the connection on real estate. I'm in real estate. You're an investor. But what do you do for your main source of income? I know you like medical sales and stuff. I actually
Yeah.
know nothing about it. I don't know what you do. I'm curious to know more.
Yeah, so what I do is sell equipment to eye doctors, capital equipment. So these are typically purchases that they're either, you know, spending a significant amount of money on or financing. So needless to say, those purchases right now are are on hold. So
I
you know,
gotcha. So what's
all yeah,
what were you saying?
just say, as a result of all this, that's all kind of on standstill. So
Yeah, I mean,
um, I've been
everything's
trying to shift my focus to some other things like the real estate and strategize there.
yeah, no, it makes total sense. So kind of like some more information on like what exactly is a big like I'm still like, how much these guys spend and what kind of service are you actually selling? I know you were explaining it as business to business and that's obviously shut down because of quarantine. I mean, just like over here in the real estate world, I mean,
Yeah.
everything's pretty much shut down. But in your day to day, say before the quarantine, what does that look like? I'm really curious about the medical sales because I remember before I got into real estate when I was like kind of dabbling in sales, we'll say the past 4 years, still bartending, but I knew I wanted more. I knew I wanted to like, be able to make more per deal per se per week.
Yeah.
And I remember like thinking about medical sales. I know you need like a degree. What's the background? How'd you get into it? And
I wouldn't I wouldn't say you need a degree to be in sales in any industry, in my opinion. Um, but so what I do is I'm a manufacturer's rep. So I'm
okay,
independent, self-employed. I'm not employed directly by any one of the manufacturers, contracted by them.
1099, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Just like me. Great.
So exactly. Yeah.
All the benefits in the world.
Yeah. So there's definitely some perks to that, both from a flexibility of making my own schedule standpoint, also obviously tax benefits. Um, but so I've been in the industry. I've been in the ophthalmic industry since I graduated college, and worked for several different companies in different capacities, and um, I ended up teaming up with a guy who I'd known for just as long as I've been in the industry, kind of just, in passing. He shared some office space um, with a company that I used to work for, and he was independent. And independent meaning,
On his own.
on his own, and
Yeah.
he's always been that way. So,
Work for hire, right?
um, what's that?
Like work for
Yeah,
hire. Like he's independent. He's just his straight up skills and connections and relationships and
yeah,
you
exactly,
were not locked down to anything,
exactly.
technically,
So,
right?
right,
I mean,
and so we go to these large conventions each year, and I was just chatting with him, catching up, and he had mentioned that he'd be looking to bring someone on to really expand the business. So as soon as that conversation ended, I thought about it, shot him a text, and took us about a year to kind of put it all together and really gain the courage to make the leap. But then we did, and that's what I've been doing for about 2 years now, independently. So we've just we both sell for about 5 different companies, um, capital equipment, eye doctors. And when I
What
say
is
capital,
what is capital equipment? When you say that, what exactly is that?
so capital equipment is basically, um, you walk into an eye doctor,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
They're gonna put you behind an instrument that you look through. There's a hot air balloon at the end of the road, and they say, "Look at that," and they run a
Yeah.
test on
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
Okay, that's called an autorefractor. That's just an example of one of the instruments that we sell.
Oh, gotcha. So legit stuff.
So,
Expensive.
like tabletop, yeah, typically, expensive stuff that they're gonna get a nice tax deduction at the end of the year for. A lot of times they're financing this stuff, so they are carrying some debt on it, um, and
Sounds
stretching
like that
this.
would make sense though, right? I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. There's a return on their investment, and there's a lot of tax benefits that encourages them to do that. And
yeah.
what we do is, a lot of my day to day is having conversations with them, trying to show them the value that it's going to bring them to expand their practice, grow their practice, whether that be through seeing more patients, taking more accurate readings, or increasing their Medicare and insurance billing reimbursement. So,
Oh, wow.
um,
Now, typically, like, what is so? I would just again because this is really cool. I think this is and we'll get into the the real estate more because I have tons to talk to you about that because you're like I said you're a real estate investor. But I think it'd be cool to kind of bring in like how your sales background helps into the real estate world. And for
Absolutely.
again, I don't know much. I don't me personally, I don't know. I think, if someone asked me who I knew that was in medical sales, you'd probably be the one or two second person that would pop into my mind. So I don't know that many. So maybe anyone that's listening that's either looking to get into it or what typically does that sales cycle look like? What is that? I know you said business to business. Like I know I go after someone who's looking to buy or sell or an investor or something like
Mhm.
that. But you are going to eye doctor. So do you normally target, say, small practices, bigger practices? What is that?
Yeah. So generally, there's several different um, spaces and types of sales in medical sales. So that's just kind of like a big umbrella,
Okay.
generalization of, a huge industry. Capital equipment is kind of like a subdivision of that. There's medical device, which is another. So you might hear of medical device is a commonly used term, but that's really um, more heavily focused on disposables that are sold into hospitals and things like that,
Okay, gotcha.
or private practice. But um, a lot of the things that they're using every day and reusing, like the PPE that you're hearing about
Yeah.
right now. And that's more of a supply than a
Yeah.
device. A device, for an example of a device, might be like a catheter that they use for,
Okay.
in
Gotcha.
nephrology or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, and and then you have pharmaceuticals, which is a completely different beast of its own.
Yeah, no, you
Um,
hear all about that stuff. That's why I mean, there's documentaries on that whole world. So,
yeah,
yeah.
and they're each of them are different types of sales. You're selling to different people. You have different call points. You're
Yeah.
prospecting to different points of contact. I've been in hospital sales. I stepped away from my industry for a couple years and tried some other things out. Actually, oddly enough, it was with a company that rented ventilators to hospitals.
Oh, wow.
So, given the times, I do know a little bit about, what's going on there. And not to go off on a tangent, but
Go off on a
basically,
tangent. Go
yeah,
off on a
yeah,
tangent. We got time, baby.
basically every hospital only has a number of, set number of ventilators that they own. But,
Okay.
you know, they're not going to turn away patients because they don't have ventilators. They need to have,
They need an influx.
a back
Yeah.
supply of ventilators in the case that they, have an influx of patients, which is commonly flu season.
Okay.
So flu season, um, as depressing as that might seem, was actually a good time for that particular business. So it was a seasonal business where you saw an increase in ventilator and life support equipment during that time of year. So this whole thing made me think of that company and what they're doing now. But
I mean, it just sounds like it's just with everything going on. I mean, so like it's just absolutely nuts. I mean, you're over in what, Old City, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, just being shut down with the whole quarantine, it just kind of seeing. It always interested me talking to some of my friends, and not to get off topic, but who's busy right now and who's not, and it's
Hmm.
who's essential, who's not, and you see all the posts like, oh, remember who's gonna, what job's essential during these times, like
Yeah.
and in my opinion, I mean, that's realistically, you can kind of know, you can kind of understand whether you're essential or not if you look at your job, what you're supplying. If you think, I think people, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, don't think always too far into the future. It's one of the reasons I got into real estate was because I started thinking more in the future. Again, I was a bartender for 9 years.
Hmm.
I literally stopped maybe 3 months ago.
Oh, did
And
you? I thought you're not doing that
like at all.
side
At
by
all.
side. Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, when it comes down to, am I a good bartender? Yeah. I would consider myself a great bartender. Do I know the bar that I worked at very well? Yes. Can you kind of let me go and I can do it? For owner standpoint, manager standpoint, you can just let me go. You don't have to worry about a damn thing because I know everything I need to do, know how to do it, what to do, da da da.
Yeah.
But I was like sick of the whole, shift. Like you got to work these shifts to make this money. Someone else controlling it, and I was just
Hmm.
like, I hate that. And
Was it a time decision for you? Just, have that extra time in the evening to,
not work.
either play with Evie or
Yeah.
focus on some
So
other things.
well, realistically, for me to get out of it, it was more of a money thing. Like I wanted to get to a point where I didn't need to, I didn't need it at all. And I would still, right now, if someone was like, yo, if we were, everything was normal, I guess. And they were like, yo, come work Friday night. I'm like, yeah, let's go. It's an extra 300-400 bucks. Like, I'm totally okay with that. But I didn't want it to be, set on every weekend. And what happened was not that I went in there and was like, I'm done bartending. I was over it. I was done with it. I put in 9 years. I'm good. I want to focus on real estate 100%. I want to be able to work my ass off Monday through Friday, Monday through Sunday, whatever it is. And then when you hit me up and you're like, yo, Jesse, let's, I got this guy, he wants to buy something, or I want to, come hang out with me tonight. It's, you're talking to me on a Wednesday and you're talking about Friday night. I want to be able to be like, yeah, I can make that happen. No problem. What time? Instead of being like, oh, sorry, man, I need like 2 weeks to get off on a Friday night. Like
Right.
I did not like
Yeah.
that. And when you have other bartenders that are, that's their main source of income, they want to work full time. They don't have anything else. They're like kind of like itching on, knocking on the door, like, hey, can I have your, you know what I mean? So
They
the
want those
manager's like,
hours.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm only working Friday and Saturday because I'm not going to work during the week, because I can't be up late like that. I would, the real estate world starts early, sales world starts early. So that was
Yeah. I
kind of
get,
what
I
really
get, I
pushed
get
me.
those early morning videos.
Yeah, the early morning videos. Speaking of that, oh, um, I actually
Those
get
are the best. I love
I
those, man.
I actually get a
When I wake
yeah.
up and I see two videos from Jesse, I'm like, this guy's bringing it today. It's like it's
Dude,
Tuesday
it's
and we're
I don't know why.
prospecting.
Yeah.
We're getting some
Uh,
leads today.
yeah. So, and I think that's huge because I don't know why I wake up until like anyone that was curious. I get a lot of good feedback from that. And what I mean by
Yeah.
that is even if the feedback's like, you're crazy, I get something like, and in the sales world, you'll
Mhm.
understand like some interaction it's a step. It's,
Mhm.
yes and no. A response is great. You know what I mean? The unresponsive stuff, it's like, you don't know if they didn't like it. You don't know if it worked. It's just any type
Right.
of
You have.
feedback's always good.
Yeah.
But man, I'll wake up sometimes and plenty of days like I'm done. Like I don't have energy. I'm dead. But man, I get in that truck and like I'm driving down 95 or 76, and at that point in time, obviously 76 is not, we're bumper to bumper. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't know. I just get this spurt of energy and I just feel
You're
like I
just ready
need
to
to
go,
give it to you and I need to show
dude.
you,
Music will do that to you.
and it
Just
helps. It helps
brings the
me.
energy.
It helps me because yeah, we're going in, and that's why like it's tough working at home. I'm sure for you, and anyone working at home, in the sales category, I guess, because there's like right now we have stipulations. We have a couple doors are locked. You only can do certain things. You can try to build you know some kind of rapport with people, new new people, new contacts. You're really contacting your database, and it's just like it's tough to kind of keep, at that, even though it's, to better explain it, is the ROI. I'm calling people, what is the ROI on these calls? What is the ROI on these contacts? You can't really judge it yet because it's going to be more long-term, in my opinion. Like, I'm
Absolutely.
calling new people. It might not happen 6 weeks or 4 weeks from now, 6 weeks from now. I have to build that relationship. So when this, the light turns green, this kind of slows down, then I have some kind of rapport built with someone in that sense. And
No doubt,
um,
but that hasn't changed, right?
yeah, no,
You know
and
what I
that's
mean?
good. It's
Like
just a little
that's the
different.
same. You're starting to realize the the impact that it has, and that that there is no short-term return right now on that. But I mean, that's always the case.
Yeah,
When you pick up the phone and you get someone on the other line, you don't know whether they're going to be ready to buy today, or whether they're going to be ready to buy
yeah,
a year from now. But
yeah,
that's how you build a pipeline. It's all about
yeah,
touches and building the relationship over time.
yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, it's like, take advantage of this time, and
It's really
not going to hit.
cool. It's,
Yeah.
if you think about it in the positive light, and what I meant by like the return on ROI, just like, so you're right. It's almost the same. Like, that's if you look at it simple, it's the same. You're doing the same shit. Doing the
Mhm.
same thing. You're doing, you're talking to people. But now it's like when I call you, like, hey, what's up, Scott? Like, oh, I see that building. Like, oh, like, can you sell it? You get those questions. Can I buy something? How do I buy it? Certain financing is a little tougher, or it's going to get tougher. The
Yeah.
uncertainty is what you're kind of competing against.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, trying to get all that and getting that mindset of like, when I'm in the office and I have all the, my surroundings are set up in a way that's going to motivate me and keep me, on point and stuff. And being at home, those like Instagram videos, man, they're like pump ups for that shit, man.
Yeah.
I love it. God, I want to do one right now. I just want
What?
to
What?
be like,
Uh,
yo, I'm here.
doing
Is this?
doing do, doing live right now.
No, I'm not.
Yes, doing live. Pick up your phone
Yeah.
and just put some music
I can't,
on.
bro. It takes a couple of tries. I'm gonna
All
go.
right.
I'm gonna get. Maybe I gotta just do it. If I get put on the spot, then I feel like it's not authentic,
Okay,
and
that's
then
fair. That's
then,
fair.
or I'm just a little girl. One of the two. Oh
I love
man,
them though.
yeah. That's funny,
You are
man.
fucking nuts, but
That's
I
okay,
love
dude.
them.
That's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I like I said, it's I am. Oh, and I wanted to say this. So since I was talking about the feedback that I get, what I actually changed, and maybe this will work for you too or anyone else, is on Instagram, and people do this all the time. I send it directly to you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can put it on your story, but I send it directly to you because then it's more like personal. And like, the people that I send it directly to, like, I want you to see it.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have a choice now.
Yeah.
Like, you
And you
don't
and
have
you
a
and you
choice.
know
Like,
and
you
you
gotta
know if
watch.
they do. It's
And I
like,
look at it and I'm like, oh, you didn't like my video? Follow up.
right.
Like, I can ask you a question.
Yeah.
It's funny, man. It's funny. Yeah. So I guess getting back to, like,
Very.
we kind of want to back to the medical stuff. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy. I just didn't know much about it. I always thought what's that company? It's called Stryker. Is that a big one?
The striker's a huge one. Yeah.
Yeah, huge one, right? So that's like one I forget. A good friend of mine was doing something, and you were saying, what were the medical equipment? I guess it's called, not capital, or medical devices. Medical devices.
Medical device. Yeah.
That, and he was doing like what, shoulder stuff, like
Hmm.
I guess, like, whatever that is.
Orthopedic, probably.
Orthopedic, yeah, something like that, where you'd like go into the surgical room and like tell the doctor how to do things,
Yeah,
which
that can
sounds
cover a lot of
absolutely
different
nuts.
specialties. But
But
yeah, that's a lot of what they're doing. Like in the OR, the trauma guys, like they're on call a lot of times, because if a surgery comes up, especially trauma where it's not a planned elective surgery,
yeah,
they have to be on call, to basically stand over the surgeon's shoulder and a lot of times tell them what to do. Yeah.
how does what qualifications do you need to do that? Is there
You're
like a
just an expert
school?
in your device.
I mean,
No.
I get it. I trust me. I know there's experts on those devices. Don't get me wrong; they know a lot. And the
Yeah.
doctor knows all about the body and how to put it in. He just needs to know how to do it for your device to work the best. But
Yeah.
I could just imagine being like, at least for me, like 2 years in, year and a half in, being like, yeah, put it right there. Like, what? This dude's got 12 years in school, $300,000 or more.
Yeah.
Like, what the
I
fuck?
mean, but they've never used. I mean, all this stuff. You have to think back. Like all this stuff at all the surgeries they're doing now, like things are ever evolving. So like what they learned in school is fundamentals and what's relevant at the time. Stuff has come so far since then, and new technologies have come out, and
Yeah.
they got
Just
to
a little
learn
bit
how to
more,
use it. They got to
yeah,
learn how to new procedures.
a little bit more streamlined almost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
companies are always trying to make things more efficient and innovate.
Would you say, no, for medical sales, would you say like to someone that's looking to get in sales? Because I know again, like you're a real estate investor, but for medical sales, as like, do you enjoy it? Would you recommend that for someone to get into in the sales aspect? Like if they were in sales, would you say it's a great career to get into? Like you can,
Absolutely,
you know,
absolutely. It's tough to get into. It's a tough industry to penetrate. It's a highly recruited industry.
why is it tough?
So just because there's only so many jobs,
Okay. Oh, just for
and
supply and demand factor. Okay.
yeah, and a lot of times they're looking for someone with experience, just like
I
you know,
wake up, I do my hair still, like even though it's getting long. It's just like if I
yeah.
don't do that, like if I don't get up, get a shower, I am
No,
it's
you
like
should like
it
that.
throws my whole day off.
I think it's still important to have a routine.
Yeah.
Not to the extent where it becomes monotonous and like Groundhog Day, but like certain things that help to create structure in a time that clearly there's a
Yeah.
lot of uncertainty.
Yeah, it's absolutely wild what's going on. I think just the quarantine in general is just I don't know. I mean, where are we at now? They just shut down schools for they
Rest
just
of the year, right?
shut down schools for the rest of the year. Uh Real estate is like not yesterday, the day before. PAR, which is the Pennsylvania Association of Realtors,
Mhm.
came out with something that was saying any transaction that was basically signed after March 6th. So if you went under contract after March 6th, the like things that are prohibited are walkthroughs,
Just over a month ago.
appraisals, inspections, in-house title services. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
That type of thing, which is it's so gray because there's going to be people that are going to now take their contracts and wet sign them for March 5th. They're going to be like, oh, okay. Oops,
Hmm.
a little white out, we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
But then there's like I had our title company at our office say something about like, hey, listen, we're still cranking away here, we can do a lot of things virtual. Which is the biggest thing that goes along with that is like we're still going to fight through it. Like there's plenty of people that are still pushing through it. It's the uncertainty of like the client, like, and the level of difficulty it's going to take
Hmm.
to try to get through a transaction. And to like break that down in my experience, like what I'm seeing is that, for example, you want to sell your house, right? Can't have anybody walking through, can't do, you live there, whatever it is. It's almost, and in sales, and this is going to go with medical sales, like you want to get stuff signed, you want people to sign things, you want to move towards the goal of a closed deal to make money,
Hmm.
mainly because there's a lot of other factors that come into play. So you want to get things done. So it's like your goal now is still to like, okay, well, let's sign an agreement of sale that dates here, there, different, contingencies protecting you and making sure, because it's not like we're trying to force and do something bad. It's just we want to get things signed and under contract and something locked in, basically cement. Because in
Sure.
sales, people just disappear on you. They don't follow through. They
Yeah,
say
you
one
gotta
thing.
you gotta get to the next step.
Time kills all deals. Time kills all deals. I hear it all the time. I think it's one of the best things ever. And it's so true. But it's like, as a client, you're going to, as a person that's trying to do it, you're like, well, why don't we just wait?
Right.
And that's like, why not? Just, you can't do it. It's going to be so hard to try to do this transaction. If we start now, why not wait 30 days and see what's up? And I think that's what people are saying. And that's what people like, if they don't say it, they don't come out and say that. That's exactly what they're saying. And I know it and I can tell it.
Absolutely. And my sister is actually in the process of buying a house.
Oh,
And
nice. Great.
yeah, she
Interesting.
she she
Weird. Never heard about that.
not in the Philly area. She but she's at the inspection stage, and she wants to be there for it. And
It blows my mind.
and there's certain um, companies that are offering like virtual inspections, but
Yeah.
you
What does that
know,
look like?
what, that's a first for everyone. So if
Yeah.
she can push it off, which, she most certainly can, it's not like they're going to have someone else that's going to come in.
Yeah. I mean, how many people
It's
are
just
lined up to go
everyone's
under
everyone's kind
contract?
of hands are tied. So to your point, it's like, yeah, it kind of relies on, the buyer and seller's comfort level with it.
Yeah, and it's going to come down to job. What do they do for work? Is their income affected? I had a buyer that I told him to wait. He's got money. He's good to go, but his income is definitely affected by this. Like he's not able to go out and get some. He's all 1099, works entrepreneur style, like makes money here. Has a couple sources of income. He's a MMA fighter,
Nice.
so like that's a and he so that's another way he makes money.
So you go on
And
a
like
fight island.
yeah, I
You
heard
heard about
about that.
that?
Yeah. Um, I'll get into that sec because I'll go off on that, But so and when I was talking to him and he was kind of like, he's good to go. But I was like, let's just wait and see. One, for the deal he's looking for in his specific case, there could be something else comes up in the next, 30 days for him that might be a better one than the one we're looking at. But like that source of income is hard to verify, especially if you're financing like him. Like, what? How can you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
the perfect scenario is a person who's essential job, so their income isn't affected. They're looking at a house that's built, no construction needed, no rehab needed, because even though a lot of guys are getting waivers, it's still pretty tough. It's getting tougher for the next couple weeks. So again, why not just wait for it to be streamlined and easy and back, somewhat back to normal. um I say the house needs to be vacant. Yeah, so then you could just buy it, do all your stuff virtual. There's no other person or party that's in the house that's affecting it. And those are the deals that I see that are like, worth pushing through, trying to get through this, or a deal that was, say 50%, 25 to 50% or more through the transaction process, the pipeline. When this kind of started, those are the ones that are still closing and pushing because they were already there.
Yeah.
And at that point, people need to move. They sold their house or their
Right.
lease is up and that type of thing. But yeah, so why don't you tell me about your real estate career? I mean, your investment, you're an investor, and how you got started, um,
Yeah.
and kind of where you're at and what you got going on.
Yeah. So I bought my first property in 2015. Um, I started out actually just, starting out like most first time home buyers do, looking for like that townhouse or a row home, like, your typical starter home, you know, 3 bedroom, 1.5 bath kind of criteria. Looked at a bunch of those in Westchester, Pennsylvania area.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Why there?
it's where I went to school.
Okay, so it's
So I knew I knew
familiar.
the area well. I worked locally at the time. My parents are not far from there. Um, I don't know. I just felt like it was like the right thing to do at the time.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Um,
if it makes
I'm
sense,
like
so
I need need to buy a house, but like halfway through that process, I'm like not seeing either the supply wasn't there or whatever. I looked at a bunch of houses and um, I kind of shifted my gears halfway through, with a shift in mindset about rental income and living for free and different ways to do that. And um, what's commonly known now as house hacking is
Burr, what's
is
it
what I
called?
decided to do. Well,
Yeah,
Burr's a little bit of a
I
different
know.
strategy,
I'm
but
just messing.
that's another coin term um, that I wasn't familiar with at the time. But those strategies have been around for forever. So what I ended up doing was looking for a small multi-unit. So instead of looking at single families, I started looking for units with two or more, or buildings with two or more units that I could move into and and rent out the other portion of the property. So and there were a few there's a few different caveats there that I would have needed to make it work. So one, there would have had to been a vacancy, or at least one that's opening up in a reasonable amount
Yeah.
of time for me to occupy it. So legally, one option that you have, I think it's up to 4 units, maybe five. I think it's up to 4 units though. You can qualify for an FHA loan,
4 units.
4 units. Yeah, you know better than I do.
5 units and
Um,
above, it turns into commercial. So
yeah.
it's, I mean, but it does come down to permitted use. I mean, I'll just explain. So, um, when it comes down, so 5 units or more is deemed commercial.
Hmm.
4 units. So that when it comes to financing, that's where you'll see the difficulty. Like I just went through this on a deal that fell through because of coronavirus, and hopefully I'll be able to save it. But was 5 units, and it's like shit. I almost wish that fifth unit wasn't even there because what it
Hmm.
alleviates is like that typical conventional or FHA like residential loan for it. But keep going. Yeah.
Right. So, you qualify for an FHA with it, which is very little money down, as low as 3.5% at the time. Um, and as long as you crunch the numbers right, which you know, that's a whole other podcast on how
Yeah.
you do that with
Well, just and
managing.
briefly touch on it. It's quick. House hacking. I mean, for anyone that's listening that doesn't know what house hacking is, what Scott's explaining is how to save money, how to generate income, how to build, basically equity in the property. Um, in difference of like say renting where you're paying someone else's mortgage, you're not building any equity in the property, or even if you own a house by yourself and it's just owner occupant, just a single family, you're just paying off a mortgage. Scott's basically looking at how someone can pay some of that mortgage for him, and he's going to pay less, correct, in the beginning of this.
Correct.
Okay.
Less expenses. So you just want to make sure you're taking into account. And it's there's several ways to do it. What you really want to look at is how does the property operate once you move out of it?
Okay.
Because a lot of times it's going to be a house that um, you're living in it, and you're definitely helping to subsidize what you would pay in rent otherwise, whether that be in a mortgage of a single family home, or if you are a renter. But you want to underwrite the property as if it's fully occupied by someone else, um, and make sure it can
Yeah.
sustain that, and ideally cash flow.
Gotcha.
um,
How long do you have to be in there? For
a
the owner
year.
occupant, 1 year. So,
Yeah.
and that's for financing reasons, correct?
Yeah.
To get the financing, you have to live in the property for 1 year.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Which, yeah, quote unquote,
I'm in the game. I know.
can be taken advantage of. Now, I personally,
Yeah.
there's loopholes there, but I lived in the property for over a year, and I'm looking at refinancing it now,
Yeah.
which is about, I want to say I bought it in 2015, 5 years later, so it's a good time frame to do it.
Yeah. I mean, with what's going on, I mean, the refis were going crazy for the past month. A little before that, like absolutely insane.
Yeah, yeah, and I
Um,
think I think that'll be the case for the next few months at least.
yeah. Um,
Um,
so to go back, I mean, if you want, we can go into detail on like how you did it, but you mentioned before, like your mindset changed. And I thought that was pretty cool. You said, halfway through, not sure the
mhm.
timeline, but halfway through that house hunting situation, if you will, your mindset changed, start house hacking. What mindset were you referring to? And like, what was that made you change, and what were you reading, or, why?
Yeah, so it was actually a good friend of mine, had a couple rentals in Westchester, and the more I talked to him, and I wasn't kind of, we didn't talk about that until after he had already kind of acquired these properties, so I didn't know much about it, but I started to pick his brain a little more about it and understand the economics of it, and how the numbers worked, and that's what kind of got the wheels in motion and my gears turning. So
Gotcha.
you know, that's what kind of set me down that path.
Yeah. You started thinking
Um,
about it, right?
yeah, so once I started to better understand it, and kind of how the money worked, and the financials worked, that's when I decided that that's something that I wanted to do.
Gotcha. Now, for someone who was, say, not specifically, but like in that position, maybe now,
Mhm.
um, obviously, so if they listen to this, they can get some ideas. What were some of the things that did to learn about that? I mean, obviously, you can talk to people. I'm guessing was a big major one, but maybe some of the steps that kind of pushed you into the fact of buying this property as you knew that you were going to move out in a year later, and for the newer investor, someone who hasn't done this before, that's thinking about it, kind of touch on that, like what maybe some of your what you kind of run into. I mean, I personally know some of the things, but for your case, I think it's really cool since you're newer, and you
Mhm.
did it kind of halfway through and you switched and and then now you're a property owner of how many owners do you own actually? Is it just a duplex?
No, there's 5 total units. There's
So you
th-
own 5 units. That's, yeah,
three in Westchester and 2 in Downingtown.
Downingtown. That's awesome, man.
Yeah. So, um, but to answer your question, basically, I mean, there's a lot of things looking back that I would have done differently. Of course, I think that's the case with
Yeah, a lot of things.
just about anything. But
Yeah.
you live and you learn, and that's how you get better for sure. But um, if there's someone that is looking to do that, or that wants to be an investor, they've decided that they want to be an investor, I would say the first thing that they should do is um, start talking to and networking with people that have done it. you know
Yeah.
Find someone that could mentor you, can coach you, to kind of shorten the gap between
Like the learning
starting,
curve. Yeah.
learning from someone else's mistakes.
Yeah.
So that's what I've tried to do, is just network, is to
Yeah.
you know
It's crazy what conversation can go. Like how if just having conversations with people, how much value you can get from it, other people's experiences.
absolutely. And it's also, I just like meeting new people, and kind of talking shop, and
Yeah, I love it, man.
eventually, hopefully that leads to maybe some things that we can do in the future. you know I
Yeah.
just like working with people that I like,
I mean, yeah,
so
no,
like
that's, I mean,
that's
that's,
I just, if you kind of look at business that way, it makes waking up and doing what you want to do worth it, as long as you're working with people that you just like being around.
yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I mean, I'm on a team. And that was one of the biggest things. Like, that's so funny you say that, working with people you like. I mean, and for me in real estate, started out, um, that's so funny you say it. So started out like probably 6 or 7 months, was on a team, great team. They were just based out of the Jersey Shore. Um, and I soon like realized, and I didn't do anything, and that's all my fault. Like I didn't, make any money. I didn't know what I was doing, and that's not the
Mhm.
team's fault. They're an amazing team. They have some amazing processes. They're well known for being a very successful real estate team. They just weren't in and around Philly. So I'm like in Philly, I never lived in Philly, was learning all about this stuff. And I'm like, I remember when I went on the first listing appointment. It might have been my second listing appointment. And I had no idea, like, really about lot dimensions over in Philly. And for anyone that doesn't know it, that it's just the size of the lot. Okay, in Philly, it's like if someone says, "Yeah, I have an acre," well, that's the lot dimensions. Like, how big is your property that live in, not just your house, like everything. In Philly, that's huge because it's very small properties.
Yeah.
It's mainly all house in a sense.
Hmm.
And I had no idea, and I was like, "All right, I don't know what I'm doing here. This is I'm not gonna be successful if I do this." And I met Nick, and we were talking. He's on the investment side, and that's we'll touch on that too. Is how I understand like what you're talking about, the 5 units and whatnot. It's because he does a lot of work with investors, and I was talking to him. Was like, wow, I really like this guy.
Yeah.
I like the investment style of things. I like those style of clients versus like the first time home buyers, the residential buyers. I was like, I like guys that know more than me, and they just kind of need someone to help source a deal, because that's really what all you guys are looking for in a sense, is like so much. It's your money. You're doing a lot of research on it. So yeah, do I need to be an expert too? Yeah, of course. But you just need the opportunity, really. So I knew if I went and
Yeah.
found the opportunity,
Yeah.
I could bring. That's how I would get my seat at the table. It's like, well, this guy's got deals.
Right. You bring the deal. You bring the
Yeah, and
deal.
then I'll
Because
learn.
ideally the people
Yeah,
that you're working with are they have their criteria.
Yeah.
You're not having to educate them too much. Now, depends on which avenue you want to go down. I think like if you're going to be an investor's agent, then you can kind of take two approaches. One, you can try to groom new investors, show them how to
Oh
invest so
yeah.
that you build a pipeline. And then, or two, have like your seasoned investors that you're not having to coach on what a good deal is. You just need to put it in front of them.
Yeah, I mean, so that's a great way to put it. So you're right. So becoming the expert is to help like the young investor. Like, so for example, for you, you have 5 units, right? So that's more than me. That's more than a lot of people. But I have my top, 5 clients could, they have over probably combined 200 units,
Oh yeah,
easy.
yeah.
One guy I was talking to, I met the other day, talking about a property, was building the contact first time I met. He's got 120 units. I finally sat there and talked to him. He's got 29, 25 flips going on, 120 units. Like those guys, they don't need to, they don't need me to tell them, too much in a sense. Like yeah, it helps. They just need the opportunity. For a younger
Right.
investor, you can get a lot of information from talking to people. I mean, there's so YouTube, podcasts, all that kind of stuff. But on the ground, boots, like they're gonna look to you as an agent to like tell them like, no, this is what it's gonna look like on the end. You can paint the picture of the entire deal and
Hmm.
just be like, and once you get enough confidence and you really know what you're doing, this is a deal, buy it. And then those guys will be like, okay, cool. And then you're like, oh shit, what? And that's what helps being with people you like the team I'm on is, heavy, heavy investment style, whether it's a builder, new construction, and we do everything. Don't get me wrong. But I would say maybe 50, 60% of that business is, investor, not owner
Yeah.
occupants, whatever it is. And I liked them so much. And I was like, I knew I wanted to be in real estate, was having a tough time. I was like, I need to make a change, move to that team very quickly. And I was like, can I join your team, man? He's like,
Yeah.
yeah. I was like, all right, cool. I quit the other team. I was like, cool. And then, but then it's like, I restarted my career, started learning. At that point, I didn't even write my first offer yet. I was
Wow.
like, yeah, it was like it was a little bit of like, some people were like, yo, Jesse, are you going to like, what's up, man? I was like, don't
Yeah.
even talk to me if it's negative. Like, I'm not quitting, you know?
Blinders.
Yeah, I was
Good
blind
for
because
you,
I
man.
knew I wanted to do it. I just
Yeah.
knew I wasn't doing it the right way. I was like, all right, what am I not doing here? Whether it's the work I'm putting out, the, prospecting, or it just, I didn't know. And I didn't know about a
Right.
transaction, I
No, I
didn't
think you
know.
made the right move. I mean, Nick's a great guy to learn from.
Yeah, I learned a ton. And just like systematically how, transactions break down and how to talk to people, without, and learning. It was a really cool experience. And then after I really like probably 3, 4 months in, I was like, I really like this investment stuff, like multifamily stuff. I personally, my favorite's multifamily. Like my goal in the next year, and I can do it in a year. It's a good goal. Is really like define and kind of like my image, if you will, as like an agent that's like pretty like good with multi units. Like you never want to cut out all the other business, Like Scott, you're like, yo, Jesse, I want to buy my first house, or I want to buy a house to live in. Yeah, I'm gonna be able to go do that for you. But I
Yeah.
also want to be like, when you think of like, yo, you're talking to your friend. He's like, yeah, I want to buy a multi. Like, talk to, about it. But he's like, oh, where do you want to buy it? Philly. Like, go talk to Jesse. He focuses on multi units. Like, he's moving them. And, that's what I like. I like assessing those deals. I constantly try to talk to people who have them or know way more than me. Like, and try to figure out how they assess deals quicker. And, why I'll bring a deal to someone. Like, say I'll be like, yo, Scott, look at this deal. What, this is cool. And then you'll systematically break it down and shit on it. And I'm like, fuck. I thought I had something here. You know what I mean? I just spent
Yeah.
like 4 days just like looking at this and like
Yeah.
trying to chase down the owner or more than 4 days, to be honest. But then you'll just like systematically shit on it because it's not wide enough and you can't fit stairs in there. I'm like, well, who the fuck needs stairs? I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, you're kidding me, right? Like, I didn't know that. Now I'm like, how wide is it? I'm like, nope, sorry, I can't do it. Like, doesn't matter. The units are smaller than you say, and like it works, and that's how you grow. And and learn more. And now I'm like, and I try to stay on top of that because, you want to provide value for you, and not just sourcing the deal too. You want to know that deal in and out. I want to be able to picture it, kind of how it's going to play out. And you're never going to be able to do that 100%. That. I'm guessing
Yeah.
you've ran into some fucking road
Well,
bumps.
it's like you're probably getting tired of like sending me deals because I'll every time you send me something, I fire back. Well, what about this? What about this? Like I need this information to
Yeah,
underwrite it and
but
like,
that's
to
it's great.
truly understand the opportunity.
Yeah, but that's great. And it's like I'm like, okay, cool. So it's like a checklist. I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
cool, checklist. And then once you do it more, you'll learn more about you, like personally, like for you as an investor, I like kind of know exactly kind of what you're looking for.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. You
and
gotta know your client's
yeah,
criteria.
yeah, and in the investment world, like you're gonna have like your VIP guys that you talk to on the daily basis or weekly, guys that you're gonna bring the deal first to. Like, yo, here I got something, take a look at it, and
Yeah. You
then
want to know who's going to get a deal done.
yeah,
Who's
that's
like,
huge, by the
not
way.
who's set up to pull the trigger.
Yeah, who's actually gonna close on something? That's serious because you don't want to waste your time, and time's a
Right.
big thing in real estate. But it's not even that. There's guys that spin wheels that like looking at stuff, and you'd be surprised. I never try to judge a situation. Like example, for when I look at a deal, when I look at like investment property or something like that, whatever the criteria is, whatever that one is, I look at it in that sense. What's the best use of it? Who's going to pay the most money for that use? Is this all right? So I know this property is going to sell for X. Like, okay, the single family guy is, will pay the more for like a buy and hold than a flip. The sellers, I'm not going to be able to get this for a flip cost. It doesn't make sense to do a flip. Does buy and holds.
Mhm.
Okay. Who does buy and holds? Who likes buy and holds? And I'll send it out to them.
Yeah.
And I always send deals. I will send a deal out and not get too specific on, whether it's location for them, maybe some criteria. I'm not going to send like $1 million, to a guy that's looking for $150,000 single family buy and holds. I get that. But what I'm saying is you never know if they like it or not until they tell you they don't like it or they do like it. And I've done that before. Like send it out. I'm like, oh wow, this dude's hit me up. I didn't think he'd be interested in that at all, but I'm sending it and I'm like, oh wow. So it tells me like, don't, let them decide. I always take that, I'm gonna let you tell me if it's not a deal for you, like whether it's, location
Yeah, then you
style.
start to kind of groom that criteria over time. Like there's only so much
Exactly.
that they can give you up front,
Yeah.
which I mean, I guess that's on both the investor and the agent though, because the way I look at it, things as far as um, you know, agent investor um, relationship is you you're only going to be able to provide deals that fit my criteria if I tell you what that criteria is.
Yeah, of course. Prequel
So,
or,
you know, it's important both for the agent to know his investors criteria so that you guys can be most efficient with, getting that in front of the right people, like you said,
yeah.
but it's also on me and us as investors, in talking with our agents and other people in the industry about what exactly it is that we're looking for so
Yeah.
that that's you stay in the forefront of your mind if something comes up.
Yeah, and that's huge because even some of these, if I as an to tell investors, and if they because sometimes if they look at something they don't like it, they don't reply or anything. Listen, the better relationship you have with whoever's giving you the deals, you're gonna get them first,
Yeah.
whatever they come around. And don't get me wrong, it goes back and forth, but whoever's in a you know, for example, like I'm gonna let you look at any deal I get. Like, oh, look at this one. Just because I know you like looking at shit sometimes. I'm like, look at this one. We got this
Yeah,
and we're
I
doing that.
mean,
It's just because, and I'll send like other guys, I'm not going to send them to because there's no point. Like, I don't need to send it to him, even though we have a decent business relationship like that. If it's a good, tight, like they get the deals first, they get, first crack or like, yo, if this is in your, criteria, boom, let me know what you need. Tell me when it's not, I'll do everything until you say, all right, it's not for me, and then I'll move on
yeah.
in a matter of time. But it's a really, I like that style. And I think we're seeing it with the quarantine. This is huge. You're going to see, I mean, I'm so happy, one, that I'm in real estate now and not a bartender. So no one can tell
Mm,
me I can't come to work, you know, and
yeah.
two, the investment style, because we're going to start seeing this, like, we're going to start seeing some, um, the changes that come along with what's, caused with the economy and the quarantine on investment properties, businesses,
Yeah,
commercial properties,
I think
and
there's definitely going to be some opportunities come up where people are, obviously over leveraged and wanting to get out of things. Hold on a second. I got to pee.
dude, go
Sorry.
pee. No, it's cool. I literally can pause this stuff, bro. Like, you're good. Don't worry
Chop
about
it
it.
up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What were we talking about? Shit.
Yeah, I got another call at noon.
All right, we're good. We have another 20 minutes. We're rocking
Yeah.
and rolling. What were we talking about? The investment stuff. Oh, the quarantine. Yeah. So I think, I am very happy that I'm in the investment style. Like, I've done that because there's agents that just do first time home buyers, and there's good agents. Trust me, they know investment deals, especially when you work in Philly. You just see a lot of it. But having the database is what takes time and builds. And that's the thing you see with agents that don't focus on investors at all, or a little bit. They don't have the database. Been working a lot to build that, because that's easy. You can just get some, send it out to 20 people, 10 people, 5 people, 3 people, and all of a sudden you're closing deals. That's a great feeling. With the quarantine, I mean, you can go over what you think, but we're going to see a lot, and a lot of real estate agents are talking about it. It's, the talk of the town. What's going to happen? What are you doing now? What's your daily activities?
Right.
And I'm over here like, dude, I'm losing my mind. That's my daily activity. I'm trying to stay alive. like,
That
I'm like,
first things first,
Jesus,
man.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just, just being around the same people all the time. But yeah, I think you're going to have a big part of the population is unemployed periodically. That's going to come back. We don't know when. I talked to like a financial guy who does a lot of, like, trade, stock market, really in tune with that. And he put it in a way of like 30-day cycles or intervals since this started. So every 30 days, it's going to get worse for the economy, at least. First 30 days, small business restaurants that are running on tiny margins, and you can't go a month without revenue. They're going to be, some people are going to be underwater. I don't know what the percentage is. Some people are saying 50%, 30%, for, whatever it is, of all restaurants won't come back, from this. It makes sense. I worked on one. I understand how the
Yeah.
margins work. Then, another 30 days, now you have like mid-level corporations, companies where they're like, they're really hurting. They can last a little longer than 30 days, but then after the 60 days, they're in trouble. They're going bankrupt. They're defaulting on their debt service or their financial stuff. Then the 90-day mark is where he was talking about, is like the scary one. That's like 90 days. Now it's trickling up, it's going to the bigger banks, then financing will change, once it gets that far. But I personally, with the political group that's in play right now, president, things like that, and other people thinking about it at that point, I don't think it'll get that way, because at that point, what's worse, economy or the virus?
What do you mean?
What do I mean is that, like, and I'm sure you've heard it before, and what they talked about is, the side effects or the problem that comes along with the virus, say death, sickness, that type of thing, is going to be not as bad as shutting down the economy for 90 days or keeping the economy shut down. If that makes sense. Like, they're going to have to start bringing something back, because the side effects, or, the effects of having these big, corporations not be able to operate fully to full capacity, or whatever, capacity that is that they can survive, is going to be worse for the people than the actual virus, you know?
Mm.
And that's kind of what he was talking about. He's like, that's where you'll see and I think what we're doing, we're working really hard on it, obviously. You're seeing in New York, apparently, like, they're dropping the number of cases or whatever it is, number of deaths. And, so it's starting to taper off, and we'll hit that plateau, but that's what, some of the people were talking about, what do you think?
Well, I think that the economic impact is based on, supply and demand, and a lot of it, the recovery is going to be based off of how soon production can, start back up again for a lot of these companies that have ceased production. And that engine takes a little bit longer to start back up, I think. So,
Yeah.
but in order for that to happen, this crisis needs to be addressed. So I don't see how businesses can start back up before this
Yeah.
sees a decline, or is even completely resolved. Because if businesses start back up and there's a rise again, then they have
Yep.
to do something again. So there could be windows of social isolation, and I don't know. I mean, it's really hard to predict, um, but I feel like it'd be hard to resume business,
Yeah.
without addressing the health
Yeah.
concerns.
Yeah, no, I mean, so I agree. It's definitely hard to. I mean, one of the issues we have is the amount of uncertainty because how do you know, truly know? Um, but I think what I'm getting at, or what I see, and my prediction is that you're right. You can't just go back to normal because then it'll happen again, start spreading and whatnot. So one, businesses will figure out a way to start working a little bit more, when they have to, out of necessity, how to try to generate something. Obviously, you have another round of maybe a stimulus package for the government and the country to like kind of keep people afloat. But what you'll see is like once it does plateauing, they'll figure out ways to do that. Cause like you're going to need a plan to restart. That's a whole nother plan. There's a plan to, basically do like a tactical retreat, if you will, like social distancing, all that stuff, shutting down businesses. And then you have to figure out a way to get out of that, like to push back. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like, how do we reincorporate society and get it going? From what I'm hearing, it's just bad. It's really bad if the longer this takes on the economy. And that's where it's like the toll of
No
what
doubt.
the actual, you know what I mean? Because in the beginning, a lot of this is like, well, the only people affected are this age. They have existing conditions, da 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 da. And it's like, all right, well, what point comes down to when people literally can't, have to, they're going to have to go to work. Like, I can't afford to do anything now. You know what I mean? There's people like that already, probably.
Absolutely, 100%.
So that what's worse?
There was people, people struggling a week into this thing,
Yeah,
that live paycheck to paycheck, that's
yeah,
fortunately, you know, I'm in a better position than a lot of those people, even though I'm technically unemployed right now,
yeah. Me too. Me too.
um,
But I
right.
did that on a choice. I made that out of choice. And some people don't have the choice. I did it. Like one of the reasons I got out of bartending was to live better. I was like,
Yeah.
and paycheck to paycheck. Bartenders do not live paycheck to paycheck because, at least, my opinion, it was the style in which you make money and how you spend it. It wasn't anything to do with bartending. I could save money when I was bartending. It's just like the way I was thinking and operating was, paycheck to paycheck, if you will. And then I was like, I need more in the tank. When something bad happens, I have a kid. I was like, so I kind of grew up a little bit, I guess, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I think another thing that all this does is it forces a lot of people to look at how they're spending their money and assess
Yeah.
their monthly household budget and income, and take it down to zero, and and see what's necessary spending, and
Yeah.
what's uh, discretionary.
Yeah. That was probably
Um,
one of the first things I did.
and as you should, see what you can cut out, and
How
see what you
many
can cut down.
bottles at
Yeah.
the club can I afford if I go this many days? I was like, shit, no bottles.
We didn't even talk about that. How we
We're getting
originally
to it now.
met.
That was my little, that was my little
how
like,
how we originally
yeah,
discovered that we
I,
have some mutual
yeah.
connections.
That was my little intro.
I
Um,
love how that's like the end of this.
yeah. What's up, babe? On the right side of the door. Sorry, 5-year-old. She's doing good though. She's
Evie,
playing and stuff.
Evie, Eve.
Yeah, she's crushing it right now, being a good girl. But yeah, so that's for the investment style. I'm happy I'm there because there's cash buyers out there that are still looking to buy. Guys, I just went one with the other day. We're talking about a $300,000. All right, Papa, give me a second. You want me to open that? Okay. And this guy's like, oh no, we have our own money, private equity. There's plenty of guys with a lot of money out there still ready
Mhm.
to buy stuff. No, I'm in the middle of something. Give me a second. It's on the door. Jesus.
Go.
Open the fridge door. Look on your right. It's behind the sauces and stuff. Jesus. Yeah, so the cash guys will still buy most of them. Some of them are still like they want to see where the chips, like where the market goes, because they're looking for, well, if I buy today, 3 weeks from now, is there a better deal? Which there could be, someone
Yeah.
that's maybe over leveraged. But there's still a ton of equity out there that people are still buying. So you just got to find those guys, work on your database, and we'll kind of see where this heads. Shit, I mean, 90 days, I mean, not 90 days from now, but 90 days from when it started, like I'll be hurting. I'm like, shit, man, I gotta like make some deals happen here at this point. So you're still able to do some rentals in between there to kind of keep you afloat on the real estate side of things.
Right.
And you're able to work. Like that's the biggest thing. Like I'm able to get on the phone, call people, look at things, do that. And that's what sucks with like the whole restaurant industry, or, someone that's basically deemed non-essential. It's like that spigot just shuts off.
Mm-hmm.
Like they can't go, they can, how hard can you, you know what I mean? What can you do to generate income? And that's like,
You see a lot of people, especially in industry, not to cut you off, you see a lot of people in restaurants, at least in the city that I've seen, kind of get creative with, you have to use social media, right? And they're like, getting creative with pickup and delivery and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And making videos, tutorials and things like that, just to, either stay relevant, selling gift cards. But yeah, I mean, you just do what you can. It made me think the other day of like a business continuity strategy should be a part of every small business's
it's
strategy, in the case of something like this, which is, who's thinking about what they're going to do when the world shuts down.
Yeah. And you're going to see some cool changes from this.
Oh,
like
absolutely.
you're going to just like, look at like social media. Like you brought that up, TikTok. You know how many people started TikToks? They're going crazy.
I started a TikTok.
Yeah, I started TikTok.
I posted one the other day. I was just messing around with it. It was kind of overwhelming. And it took me like an hour to
oh yeah, you went in hard. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna really do this.
It wasn't even that creative. It was like an old video that I just like made it into a meme.
Yeah.
EV. Hi. What's that? Fruit cup?
Yeah, applesauce.
Oh, applesauce. Oh, nice.
Yeah. But yeah. So we'll see. I mean, you're gonna see some cool stuff with TikTok. People getting creative. I think. The real estate side of commercial is going to be different. You're going to have big companies realize that a lot of people can work from home. That'll phase out for, it'll take some time. Oh, for sure. At least